If you liked this episode, then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. The next episode of this manhwa will be released once this part reaches 1,000 views or 5 comments requesting the next part.
A week has passed in the village. The bell tolls, summoning everyone to the town square. As they gather, Loader addresses the assembled villagers, announcing the devastating goblin attack on Bright Town. This incites fury among the villagers. They demand blood for blood, seeing humans and goblins as sworn enemies, exactly the reaction Loader had hoped for. After whipping up their hatred, Loader begins to praise the temple. The knights, he explains, acting on the temple's behalf, have slain these goblins and avenged the villagers. Then the holy maiden Ephra steps forward with her powers. She creates a dazzling spectacle, urging the villagers to continue praying to the temple. She assures them that the temple will always protect its faithful. Her words instantly sway the villagers, even those previously skeptical. Their faith is reignited, and they turn to the temple with devotion and trust. Later, Ephraim returns to her chambers, basking in the success of her speech. It's nothing new. These villagers are the most gullible fools imaginable. They'll pray even harder, worship the temple more fervently, and bring her more offerings. Her smug satisfaction is abruptly interrupted by a voice calling her name. The person who called her name was the goblin Lin Tian. He has regained consciousness and it's clear he's been through hell. Horrifying scars cover his body and one eye has been gouged out. Despite his injuries, a burning rage burns in his eye. Ephra ignores his words. A twisted smile plays on her lips. She's amazed by his tenacious spirit. It's been a long time since she'd seen such tenacious life. Perhaps this is why the temple hasn't been able to eradicate all goblins from the continent. Lin Tian's return to consciousness excites Ephra. She can continue her experiments, observing how the poison affects him. Lin Tian, enraged, repeats his accusations. You tricked me, you killed Keita. Is this the true face of your temple? This so-called justice humans boast about his fury is met with Ephraim's cruel indifference. She silences him with a sharp thrust of a staff against his mouth. She laughs, mocking his anger. How dare a weak, filthy creature like you, a degenerate goblin, speak of human justice? She claims Khalees was under a spell and dared to speak for him, a betrayal. Therefore, death was her final act of loyalty. Goblins are nothing more than insects on this continent. She continues, it's a great honor that the Holy Maiden even speaks to you. Be grateful, and use your wretched little body to serve mankind in the temple's experiments. The brutal torture continues. Lin Tian helpless to resist the endless, unbearable pain. Even when he falls unconscious, he's quickly awakened by the torment. In his torture, he wonders if he'll die here. He doesn't want to, but he can't blame anyone but himself. He was so foolish, reborn as a lowly goblin. He had naively believed in humans, in the kindness of those not of his kind. His weakness and naive led to Kililia's death. After he was captured by the villagers, Loader and Eri tortured and tormented him with every imaginable cruelty. They never believed his words, taking sick pleasure in his suffering. Lin Tian's suffering eventually comes to an end. He's tortured to death by the cruel woman.
Hey, quick fact. 97% of you watching aren't subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It's free, helps the channel grow, and keeps you in the loop. Thanks for your support.
His only wish in his final moments, if he had another chance, was to never trust humans again. If he could do it again, he'd crush their bones and drink their blood. But that was only if he could be reborn. As his consciousness fades, instead of drifting into an endless void, Lin Tian awakens in a different space, a place filled with brilliant white light and twinkling stars. His body is fully healed. Before he can ask where he is, a system window appears. It informs him that the Goblin life simulation system has been activated and he has died. A brief summary of his life flashes before him. Due to your naivete, you forgot you were a goblin. Humans will never trust goblins. You died from torture and abuse. This pain will be engraved in your mind and you will never forget. As a result, you're the most tragic character in the rebirth system. Do you want to start again? Yes or no? Lin Tian is startled. His system only activated when he died, and this system might allow him to be reborn. But will he be reborn as a low-level goblin? This time, the system reminds him if you choose no, your soul will completely dissipate. If you choose yes, you will be reborn into a goblin body 1 week earlier. This made him incredibly excited. A week ago, this was his chance for revenge. He had to get revenge on Loder and Ephra. Of course, he chose to be reborn again. A white light enveloped his body, signaling the start of his Goblin 2-0 life. Lin Tian's eyes were now filled with rage. This rebirth was slightly different because this was his Goblin 2-0 life. To help him live longer, the system decided to give him a little more power. Feeling his strength, Lin Tian smiled with satisfaction. Even if it was just a little, coming back to life was the most important thing. But it seemed this was his only chance because the system immediately warned him of danger. People from the temple were coming, and if he died again, he wouldn't be reborn. This shocked him, but he didn't expect more. Being reborn once was already a miracle. He wasn't strong enough to fight the temple yet, so he immediately asked the system what he could do. The system explained that it was called the Goblin Life Simulation System. He could simulate his life and predict future events. Each different choice would lead to different outcomes. Each simulation required 24 hours to complete. After the simulation, he would earn points from each simulation, which he could use to exchange for items in the system. This made Lin Tian chuckle. This simulation method meant he could see the future, so he immediately started using the simulation. The system reminder displayed the current situation: escape the Goblin Cave. To escape, he had to make choices. 1. Warn his goblin friends and unite to face the humans. The reward would be 10 points. 2. Abandon the other goblins and escape on his own. The reward would be 5 points. 3. Hide in the cave and pray. The temple people don't find him. The reward would be 0 points. Lin Tian thought about it. Even though there were 3 options, he was sure that even if all the goblins in the cave united, they couldn't defeat Loder. The battle would end with their deaths and he wouldn't be able to escape, but he still chose to simulate the first option. He hoped that with the points he earned, he could exchange for a weapon from the shop. Then he could kill a Loder with a sneak attack. As predicted, after the simulation, all the goblins were killed. The result was a complete failure. The system asked him to think carefully when making decisions and also gave him 10 points. Lin Tian was happy that he got the points even though his plan failed. He quickly opened the system's shop. Many weapons appeared immediately and he could exchange for them. But the problem was that his points were too low. The only thing he could exchange for was a short knife. It could increase his movement speed by 10% and his strength by 15 points. He grabbed the knife. Those stats were immediately added to his information panel. At this point, Lin Tian remembered Khalees. He asked why he didn't see her. The system informed him that due to his rebirth, some events in this world had changed. Kelly wasn't captured by the goblins. She was living happily with her family in the village. Knowing this made Lin Tian very happy. A smile appeared on his face. He felt he had fulfilled his promise to bring her home. The thing to do now was to escape and survive. He chose a narrow exit to go out. This place was small, so there would definitely be fewer guards. There were only 2 guards outside. They were discussing their work. These goblins were very weak, so they could easily complete their task. Lin Tian heard their conversation. He carefully advanced to the entrance of the cave. The 2 guards talked to each other. Since this passage was small, any goblin that ran out would be easy to kill. Loder had asked them to kill any girl who ran out and not let them return to the village. This conversation confirmed Lin Tian's belief that everyone in the temple was a bunch of bastards who were willing to kill their own people. Therefore, a goblin like him had no reason to be merciful to them. Lin Tian pinched his nose, trying his best to imitate a woman's voice of distress, and pleaded for help. The guards immediately paid attention to it. They wanted to kill the girl and receive a reward from Loder. One of them entered the cave with a knife behind his back. He told the girl not to be afraid. He was a temple man and he was here to take everyone home. But instead of a woman, it was Lin Tian. With a sharp knife pointed at the knight. At the exit, the knight noticed the strange behavior of his comrade and decided to check on him. As he approached, he was shocked to see a goblin standing there in a flash. Lin Tian threw the knight's body away, then charged toward the terrified knight at incredible speed. His agility allowed him to easily wound the knight, who fell to the ground in pain. The knight, overcome with fear, screamed, "You can speak human." Lin Tian's sharp steel blade was the only answer to the knight's fear. Knowing he was no match for Lin Tian's power, the knight realized he was facing death. In desperation, he begged for mercy. He knelt pleading for compassion and showed Lin Tian a picture of his family, hoping for a chance to return to them. He praised Lin Tian's intelligence, claiming he would understand that he was merely following the orders of the temple. He insisted that he was forced into doing what he did. The knight offered Lin Tian a bag of gold and a beautiful woman, promising to select the most alluring one for him. However, for a man like Lin Tian who had been betrayed, these words only fueled his anger. The knight's true nature was exposed. He had planned to use Lin Tian's hesitation to kill him, but it was all part of Lin Tian's plan. He swiftly and coldly ended the knight's life. Lin Tian felt pity for the man's family, but he understood that sometimes ruthlessness was necessary. Evil needed to be eradicated. His attention was drawn to a voice coming from the forest. It was Loder and his men heading towards them. Lin Tian quickly took off the knight's clothes and left in a hurry, promising to find Loder and Ephra. Soon later, Loder and Ephra arrived at the scene. They were stunned to find the bodies of the two temple knights. After examining the bodies, Loder suspected the goblin ambush. The clean, swift cuts were unusual. Ephra thought it was impossible for a regular goblin to kill both knights. She believed a goblin capable of such a feat must be a mutated one. Loder agreed with her assessment. He was furious that the knights could not handle a mutated goblin, and allowing it to escape was a bad sign. Loder, furious, kicked one of the corpses, enraged that these knights couldn't handle a mutated goblin. Ephra, her lips licking, couldn't control her excitement and cruelty at the thought of obtaining such a unique.
If you liked this episode, then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. The next episode of this manhwa will be released once this part reaches 1,000 views or 5 comments requesting the next part.
Specimen for experimentation. Night fell and the moonlight cast an eerie glow on the forest. Lin Tian painted heavily. Happy to be alive, he had run until exhaustion, but he couldn't afford to let his guard down. He tried to recover as quickly as possible to continue his journey. He realized that they hated goblins, so much so he would use the goblin way to deal with them. Goblins could upgrade their attributes through mating and cannibalism, both increasing strength and creating stronger generations. Lin Tian's mind was consumed with hatred in this life. He wanted all men to experience only the happiness of death and all women to kneel and weep at his feet, especially Loder and Ephra. But his thoughts were interrupted by the rustling of leaves. He grew worried, thinking it was one of Loder's henchmen still pursuing him. He decided to strike first to gain an advantage. Without hesitation, Lin Tian stood up and charged at his opponent. The unexpected appearance of Lin Tian shocked and frightened the stranger, who stumbled backward. Lin Tian was shocked to find that this was a goblin. The sound it made him think that it could speak. Inertia made Lin Tian also fall forward. After recovering his posture, Lin Tian was surprised to find that this goblin had characteristics of a female. Why was a female goblin appearing at this time? According to everyone's knowledge, goblins were only male, reproduced by mating with other creatures. Her presence had changed Lin Tian's entire perception. In confusion, his eyes were fixed on the female goblin. She thought he was about to do something. She quickly sat up and begged him not to hurt her, explaining that she was just fetching water. This only made Lin Tian more worried. How could this goblin speak complete sentences like him to find the answer? He used his assessment skill to check her attributes. She was level 3, but her profession was God's messenger. She had the titles of Fallen God, Pure Soul with attributes, Blood 10, Energy 2, Defense 1 with the skills of Devour and Wild Growth. Her overall strength was 10, and Lin Tian was surprised to see the special note. When a male goblin combines with a female goblin, they will become the legendary Goblin God. This made Lin Tian have an unclean thought, because if he mated with her, he would have immense power, as if seeing the dark thoughts in Lin Tian's eyes. The girl backed away in fear. She said she was caught by the patriarch to fetch water. If she didn't bring the water back, she would be beaten to death by the patriarch. Seeing the girl scared, Lin Tian spoke up and apologized. He said he didn't mean to scare her. He also patted her shoulder to comfort her, saying that if she cried, it would attract the attention of bad people. But the girl didn't care for Lin Tian's actions. She was concerned about why Lin Tian could also speak in a complete way like her. Her eyes lit up with excitement. Lin Tian laughed and nodded because of her cuteness. This was reasonable because ordinary goblins couldn't speak and maybe she rarely talked to other people in the tribe. However, Lin Tian's line of thought was once again interrupted. He noticed the girl was clinging to his cloak. She said Lin Tian was good because the other goblins just beat her up. This was the first time a goblin treated her like this. The girl suggested that Lin Tian return to her tribe with her. This surprised Lin Tianhe didn't expect there to be a goblin tribe nearby. He still didn't know if the loader people were chasing them. It wasn't suitable to ABC right now and he needed to find a safe place to hide. Lin Tian's eyes lit up. This was a good opportunity for him to recruit his first followers. Right after that, he suggested that the girl take him to her tribe. The girl agreed without blushing. It seems because this was the first time she met a goblin as handsome as this. She immediately agreed to take him to her camp. Soon after they arrived at the goblin camp, Lin Tian's appearance made the other goblins extremely wary because he was a stranger and dressed like a human, something goblins had never seen before. Lin Tian calmly observed with the number of goblins here. He felt very satisfied and decided to start building his kingdom from here with a calm attitude. He explained to the goblins that he wanted to join them and he wanted to meet their leader, but this proposal was immediately rejected. They decided that a freak like Lin Tian couldn't meet the patriarch. They decided to capture Lin Tian and then bring him to see the patriarch. At this time the girl, worried, stepped forward to block the goblins. She said that Lin Tian was a good person. The commotion had attracted the patriarch's attention. He inquired about the situation. His appearance surprised Lin Tian a little. The patriarch's name was an old goblin with a staff decorated with many skulls. He looked very ferocious. His appearance was completely different from the goblins Lin Tian had seen before. Besides his clothes, he also had very high stats with level 25 priest profession blood 102 man 29 defense 17 with the skills of devour summon thorn. Control equipment is skulltaff and bone chains and has an overall strength of 200. Lin Tian's eyes lit up with vigilance. He didn't expect there to be such a strong goblin in this tribe.
Hey, quick fact. 97% of you watching aren't subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It's free, helps the channel grow, and keeps you in the loop. Thanks for your support.